Disclaimer: this video is intended to be informative and to provide a neutral look at the nature of political extremes and the challenges of finding middle ground. It is not meant to induce any bias or sway your beliefs. In politics, we often see two extremes pulling in opposite directions, with moderates somewhere in the middle, tossed around like a boat in stormy seas. Why is it so hard to find a middle ground? And why does it often feel like our political landscape is designed to avoid compromise? Let's dive into the riptides of extremes and why the elusive middle ground seems so hard to claim. In the classic left-right spectrum, we have liberals on one side and conservatives on the other, each with their visions of the good society. For some, being left-leaning means striving for social equality, while for others, the right represents individual freedom and stability. Both sides have solid points, at least in theory. But here's where it gets interesting. As soon as one side takes a step in their direction, the other feels the need to step even further to balance things out. It's like a tug of war where neither side wants to give an inch, and the rope only gets tighter. One reason extremes tend to dominate is because they're, well, exciting. Extremes are bold, loud, and give people something to rally around. Tax the rich, or protect our borders. These statements make headlines, fill rallies, and offer a clear villain or hero for each side. There's certainty in them, a sense of knowing exactly who's right and who's wrong. The middle, not so much. Moderation rarely makes for a passionate rallying cry. Tax some rich people sometimes, or protect some borders if needed, doesn't exactly electrify crowds. So, while extremes capture our attention, moderates often get lost in the noise. Let's pause for an example. Imagine a city council trying to decide on a new public park location. One group insists it should be in the north, where there's lots of unused space, while another group says the south side, which needs more green areas, would benefit more. The compromise? The council proposes a central location, thinking it'll serve everyone equally. But here's the catch now: both groups are unhappy because neither side feels their priority was fully addressed. They both wanted the benefits to go directly to their neighborhood. So instead of coming together, each group digs its heels in even deeper. In many cases, compromise can end up satisfying no one completely and reinforcing the original divide. But it's not just about messaging or compromise alone, it's human psychology. Studies show that people gravitate toward group identity. They want to belong to a team, to feel like they're part of something bigger. Extreme political views give people that feeling of purpose. It's not just a political belief, it's a badge of identity. And when you're part of a team, the world becomes simple. Us versus them. Right versus wrong. In a world filled with complexity, these extremes offer clarity, even if it's a bit oversimplified. The middle ground, by contrast, doesn't have that same sense of belonging because it's defined by compromise, which, let's face it, isn't the stuff of epic tales. It's messy, sometimes contradictory, and rarely absolute. It's the area where we don't have all the answers meets maybe they have a point too, which doesn't quite have the same ring. The way our political systems are structured also plays a huge part. Many countries, especially those with a winner-takes-all voting system, naturally favor a two-party setup. You either have to be in or out, red or blue, right or left. This kind of system leaves little room for purple voices or for parties that want to mix a bit of this with a pinch of that. In this setup, compromise is often seen as weakness rather than collaboration. So the more polarized things become, the more incentivized politicians are to cater to their extremes. Instead of building bridges, they build walls to rally their base. And of course, the media has a role in this too. Imagine a headline that reads, "Moderate Party suggests complex, nuanced policy solution to national issue." Doesn't sound like a page-turner, does it? Extreme opinions make for clickable, shareable stories, so news outlets often highlight the most divisive voices. And social media? It's a political echo chamber. Algorithms are designed to show us more of what we already like, reinforcing our beliefs and silencing opposing views. Before we know it, we're living in a bubble, surrounded by people who think just like us, where compromise becomes a foreign concept. Social media algorithms play an even deeper role in amplifying this divide. Let's say you're scrolling on your favorite platform, and you like a post that leans a little left. The algorithm takes note of this, deciding you'll probably enjoy more of the same, and starts showing you content that's just a bit more left-leaning each time. Or maybe you're watching videos with a conservative slant, and the algorithm gradually feeds you more and more extreme viewpoints, nudging you further down that path. A study once looked at this phenomenon and found that people who started out watching fairly neutral content were quickly funneled into more polarized media. It's as if social media is always testing how far you'll go, amplifying content that fits your preferences and muting what doesn't. This is a well-intentioned design to keep you engaged, but it has the unintended consequence of creating echo chambers. We end up surrounded by people who think just like us, with less exposure to differing perspectives. Over time, we start to see opposing viewpoints as alien, even irrational, because we've lost touch with the nuances. In this kind of setup, compromise isn't just hard, it's almost alien. So where does this leave us? The tug-of-war between extremes pulls us all in one direction or another, often leading to gridlock, division, and frustration. The extremes get louder, the middle gets quieter, and finding common ground feels like a near impossible task. But here's the silver lining. Recognizing this tension is a step toward breaking the cycle. Understanding that we're drawn to extremes not because they're right, but because they're simple, helps us resist the urge to choose sides blindly. The middle ground might not be as exciting, as clear-cut, or as loud, but it's where true progress often happens, slowly, quietly, and with compromise. It's the space where we takes precedence over us versus them. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to give it another shot. If you liked this video and are asking yourself whether to like and subscribe, I would like to provide you with one more answer. Why not? And as always, I hope you have an amazing day.